here we are going to show you how we created some art. We're doing some joy of creating. So we're going to show how we went from these words, which are from a cut-up technique. They're just random words, sentences, each sentence from a different book, randomly selected. How we made this art here. This one by me, Bevan Bird, and this one by my dad, Dick Bird, who is here with me. Hey. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So these are the words here. So I put these in from some books. I remember that we were all encouraged they were with us, like encouraged that they were with us, and that they had come at all. Community feeling of a kind, perhaps. And second, but Muhammad was disinclined to move. And third, it is here that powerful emotions are linked to our memory. 3 different books. Right. So this is what I created from something that I wrote, and this is what my dad created from something that he wrote. And then I take a cut out of his image as inspiration for my next piece, and he does the same. So I took a cut out of that, out of his, kind of these nail things that are supposed to be girders. Okay, so I take that part, and I make this. And this, I liked these two most of all, out of the others that I'll show you later. And then I combine them together to make this. I liked how, when I look at it in the middle, with all those lines or pins or colored rods or whatever, then the one that crosses them, it seems to be at a different height, as does the spheres or cubes in different shapes floating. And then when I focus on that kind of needle across, that orange colored one on the diagonal, then it seems like the other part is at a different height. It's like I can't focus on both of them at the same time. So I liked that, how it was messing with my head a little bit. And it's a bit of an optical illusion, I think. And then, right, so then my dad took this clip out of my first image, right, out of B1. He clipped out that part and made this, which evolved through these steps eventually, like this. And it's in Picasso's style, into this image here. So now we'll show you how we did it. Okay, we started with those 3 sentences, as I said, right? Reference 1, 2, and 3 there. So here are the books and page numbers where those words come from. And I wrote this, so reusing those words, rearranging them, not doing it strictly like pulling every single word, just using it as inspiration in a free and open flowing way, which is most conducive to creativity. So just using any words you want, as many or as few as you'd like, and add any others, even modify those words if you'd like as you go. So I wrote, back in those days, we lived happily among the moons of Jupiter. And that first sentence I added in at the end, which kind of made it like futuristic, sci-fi. I added that sentence in at the end, at the first one there. The great Mohammed inspired by his actions a powerful community feeling. We were all kind of encouraged, but we were disinclined to spend our time growing his cult. We wanted to live our own lives, and that's exactly what we did. However, he will always live on in our memory. Of course, you could just say but, okay? And my dad, Dick Bird, right, he refused to use the cut-up technique. He only creates art that's meaningful, so he doesn't like this nonsense that doesn't make sense, you know, sentence taken out of context. And I said, well, you can create something that has meaning. Whatever you create can be meaningful to you. But what I did, because we had tried to use the cut-up technique, if you were following, we did that in session 1. We tried to do that verbally, like in speaking, and that was not easy at all. And it's because trying to use the brain for multiple things at the same time. Normally you write them down, or as I did on here, I had them on the screen, and then I rearranged these words, or copied some and just wrote that on my laptop. So because he doesn't like using the cut-up technique, I just gave him a prompt. I said something like, remember a particularly vivid scene from a dream or an experience or a story that you wrote, and describe what you see. Right, Dad? I said something like that to you. Right? Right? Was that right?
Right.
Yeah, so then you wrote this. Okay, is that big enough for you to read it there?
Hmm?
Yeah, is this big enough for you to read it?
Yeah.
Right now.
So, beginning of this story, I'm riding on the top deck of a red double-decker bus, the kind that they have in London, through a vast city which has been completely destroyed by an earthquake or atomic bomb.
Is that
of some
something that
sort.
you dreamed? You had this dream, right?
Yeah.
But you never wrote the story?
No.
Well, now you have.
Right.
So you wrote this as a memory of a dream on
Yeah.
your clipboard, and I typed it in, I think. Yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead.
So the ride goes on and on and on, and the whole great city, a megalopolis, has been utterly destroyed. There isn't a building left standing until we get to in the center of town. We get into this big building. The bus stops, and I get down and go inside. And inside this building, this is like a scene from the Second World War in London.
Which you were
where
in
they
when
had
you were a child, right?
canteens to feed people who were in need of a hot meal.
Right.
And that's what's going on here. There are people, mostly old people, very old people, old age pensioners, who've been bombed out of their homes and are getting a hot meal at this sort of community center. And it's a very happy, contented feeling in there because they're getting a good hot meal. And it's free. So I get my meal, and then I look for a place at a table to sit down and eat it. And I do so, and all the people around me are very friendly and welcoming, and they want to know who I am and where I'm from and everything, and they tell me where they are from and their names, men and women. So I'm eating this delicious meal and feeling very welcomed here, when a man sits down near me and he said, I know you.
Ah.
I looked at him and I said, well, I don't know you. Well, he says, Brian Donahue knows you and you know him. Who? Brian Donahue. Never heard of him. Well, he told me all about you. Well, look, there must be some mistake. I've no idea who or what you're talking about. I want you to give him this. He showed me a sort of child's toy, a metal construction of rods and girders fastened together with nuts and bolts like a Meccano construction set. I couldn't see what it was supposed to be, nor any point in carrying it around. It was quite a big thing, you know. It was as big as the man's belly.
All right. So then I input that story in. Oops. Okay. Now we're showing me making the art because we hadn't told that yet. Because we just showed that I wrote this, and then we showed what he wrote, and how that came about. So
and he said, I want you to give this to Brian Donahue. I want you to find him and give him this. He'll know what to do with it.
All right.
Well, I couldn't see what this thing was supposed to be, nor any point in carrying it around.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the end. That's as far as you took it so far. If you want to tell more of it, you got to do that in an audio, in a separate place, because here we're showing how we made the art. Now I have to move on. Yeah, because that's where you got to, see? So then, so making mine, that was what I wrote, right? And so I put this prompt into Grok, which is like in X, which was named Twitter, I just go in to click on Grok and then tell it make an image and put a prompt there. Like if you're familiar with Midjourney, which I am, but I was just playing around with Grok, so that's what I put in there. So you can see that I added in a sentence at the beginning, like make an image and also world-class photography depicting this short story. The rest of it is what I'd already written. It's the description or the prompt. So yeah, I chose it to be a photography style. We could make any style we wanted. The day before this, I believe, or late at night, the night before this, I was making some playing around with some Kandinsky style stuff. Okay, so I made that. That's one of them, and this is the one that I selected and used it and called it my first one, so B1. That's what I selected out of the first 4 images that came up, with Jupiter in the background. They're living on a moon of Jupiter there, with an atmosphere, or maybe a dome or something that we can't see. And so then when we made an image for my dad's one, I said to do the same thing, because I said, what style do you want to make the thing? Like, what do you want to show? And he wanted to show that dude, the old man, with the contraption that's telling him to bring it, to take it and bring it to Donahue. So I put in a prompt, but at first I told it to make it, depicting this scene, and I said what style, and he said a photograph, and so I put that in there. So at first I had it with the whole story. Then it was making it with the people up on the top of the double-decker bus, going through rubble, a city all destroyed, and having, some of them had plates of food, and there was this like little vehicle, the toy thing. So it was up on a bus, so we didn't want that. So I threw away the beginning of the story, and I just show that it's in a great hall with the meals, and the people are telling stories to each other, and the stranger says he knows them. Oh, it's all this. This is the beginning of the prompt, and it continues and goes like this. And so I've only taken out the part before that, which was when he was outside and on the bus, and before he got into the hall. I took that out. So it just continues and goes down, and it goes till there's the contraption and no point in carrying it around. So this is one of the images we got after some playing around. He didn't like that there was wheels on the thing. It's not a vehicle, it's supposed to be girders. So I told it to make like kind of a building, a thing that looks like a building. Then what I did was I said make it like these with rods and girders like that. I think that this is the prompt that I used to make the thing. So I wasn't saying make it like a building, bare bones anymore. That was maybe an intermediate step. But we notice how I got rid of Meccano. That's because it was always making them with wheels. It was always vehicles. So I took that out. We went from that to like trying to make it like a kind of like a building, bare bones, then to this, what it says here, a construction with rods and girders, right? So now that kind of just looks like nails maybe welded together a bit or magnetized. But I was like, hey, this is enough. We've done so many variations or steps already. I'm like, that's enough for now, right? We'll go with that, even if it's not perfect or that good, right? So that's it. So then that becomes his first image that he made. That's there, D1. So then I take a clip out of that, because that was the plan, right? As I told you before, as I planned it, as I had an idea, it was, we will start with cut up technique. We'll each write something, then we'll make art. Then we will each cut a piece from each other's piece of art as an inspiration to make our next one. And if you want, you could make a collage or something. You don't have to just take one piece. You could cut different pieces, rearrange them, make something. Anyway, this is what I did. I took a clip just of that thingy with girders and stuff. So it's D1A. So I told Grok to describe it in this way. And the reason I told it to disregard everything else before is because in the experiments the night before, playing with some Kandinsky style stuff and trying to extend it or whatever, just experimenting, I learned that I needed to tell it to disregard everything before, because if I don't do that, then when I tell it to describe the image that I uploaded there, it was still keeping in mind what it was generating before or what it had just been doing. So that's why I told it to reset and then describe only what it sees in this image. And so then what the prompt that it gave me, which I'm not showing you here because that would be in great detail and a lot of text. So whatever it gave me, which I have a record of, and in the future, we'll just document as we create it. So you'll just see everything as we go step by step. So then I just said, okay, write that in abstract form. I just responded back, as in like a conversation with ChatGPT, which we're familiar with. So I just wrote whatever it gave me. I then just said, write that as an abstract form. So, because it was describing what it saw in this image, these nails and stuff, right? So, write it in an abstract form to be used to compose a painting by Kandinsky while he was in France. And then it gave me something else. And then I said, generate an image of a world-class painting in the style of Wassily Kandinsky, and then the description. It's whatever it gave me. I copied and pasted that in there. Okay, so this is one of them. So that means I'm not, no, it is, I'm showing you, because B1 was the one before. It was how we lived happily among the moons of Jupiter. So here we have what was created by this prompt, with this prompt, via it. So we get this, and I like these, and there's another. It's quite complicated, and it does make you work. It is like a Kandinsky when you look at it. And you can follow these lines, these curved lines, like roller coasters, these needles, or whatever these things are, these loops. They go up straight, but then they loop around, and if we followed them, it'd take a while. So if you want, this painting can make you work hard, right? And then there, B4. So I like B2 and B4 the most of what it was creating using the prompt. There's another one. And so then I wanted to combine them, and this is the way I did it. So because I'm used to Midjourney, you can just input in images. You can have it describe them too, but you don't need to. You can just have them in as an image prompt, just like we have in text, just like we have text in the prompt, and it's going to create an image, like predicting what we want based on what we said in the words, text to image. You can also have images in it. Well, Grok doesn't do that. So I said to Grok, describe what you see in the image, like it says right here. That's my prompt with the image uploaded. B1 and then B2, each one. And then I said, combine and simplify together into a single description of an abstract painting by Kandinsky these two descriptions of paintings. One, paste in, two, paste in, each one. 2 paragraphs, right? Like that. So then I said, generate an image of a world-class painting in the style of Kandinsky, and then paste in whatever it had given me back, which was its combination of the two, B2 and B4. So that gives us these ones, and I like these. And I hope you do too. And there's a lot of detail in here, right? And you could expand that, and maybe we will. But anyway, and so then I ended up choosing this one, as I said before. I liked this one a lot, and then I chose that, so that's my painting. That's why I've labeled it in red there, to highlight it aside from all the others. Okay, so then when my dad made one, he took a clip out of my first image, B1. So we call that B1A. This clip here, that man, maybe Mohammed, right? So we get Grok to describe it in this way, what it says there. That's what we put in. So the prompt it gave me, we then said, so my dad had an idea to make this painting based on, he was looking at my painting, the one that this is cut from, so the B1 that has the Jupiter behind it and this other person beside him, right? And other people and more water. So he was seeing that and he decided to make something, but I didn't realize he was actually remembering a painting, right? Did you? Yeah, because you weren't trying to create a new painting. You were trying to create a painting that existed, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I couldn't really remember it very well.
Okay, so you remembered that
I saw
painting.
it years ago.
Yeah, and I didn't know that he was trying to recreate a painting.
Yeah.
It'd be better. So next time he'll tell me if he's trying to make something that if he remembers a painting, you got to tell me about that because then we wouldn't try to recreate it. There's no point in recreating it. We'll just Google it, we'll look it up, we'll see it because then we go to the next step, right? So then he'll have to in the future he'll have to clarify. Anyway, so we were trying to create it because I thought he was making a vision. He was remembering a painting. Next time we'd Google it, we'd look at it, and then from there we would decide what to do, right? Because we could input that image or describe it, or maybe he wants to make something else or whatever. I don't know.
Well, at the
so
time,
we'd figure that out.
I didn't know what I was remembering was part of a dream
Oh, or a
or
real painting.
imagination, or if I'd actually seen a painting by Picasso. I didn't know,
Okay, cool. So
but
then,
I knew what it looked like.
yeah. Oh yeah, and we can't show it to you in here. We don't have rights for that, like, or I haven't gotten permission, but I'm gonna give you a link and you can just Google it. So you're gonna see the real painting too. So we got it to describe this, and then we make it change whatever it wrote. So it wrote a description, and then I said, or we said, write this again, because we did this together. So we said, not I said. So we wrote to Grok, write this again with the person holding a playing a guitar, holding and playing the guitar, right? And make the description conducive to composing a painting by Picasso in his blue period.
Yeah.
And so whatever it gave me back is what I've labeled there as prompt, right? And that's a placeholder. You copy and paste the prompt in. So generate an image of a world-class painting, as I did the same as before. I'm using the same template I copied and pasted, but now we're saying by Picasso instead of Kandinsky, right? You can see it there. So I just put that in, and the prompt, that's what the prompt that Grok gave me, which was rewritten. Or written, right? Written differently. So we just put that in. One sentence, generate an image, and then the prompt. And so then it gave us images, right? We would start seeing them and reviewing them. And so I told Grok, or actually we told, because we're doing it together. So because we're both looking at it, but he's making it, but I'm helping my dad with the technology, right? So we're talking to Grok, right? So we say, we're getting too much detail. Simplify the description and make it so we get a composition by Picasso in Cubist and blue. So I'm telling it what we actually wanted, right? And then it gives us more things. So I'm not showing you all this, right? If we were filming when we did it, then you would see the process. But that can take longer, although it doesn't take as long as setting up one of these where we try to describe what we did in the past, because it's not the same as creating. So one of the things it was showing us were like, okay, like, or all the ones that it's showing us, we just respond back to Grok and say, make it, and this is based on what my dad's telling me, because he's trying to say that it's not right. What it's doing is not right, because it's showing the face. He needs to be downtrodden. We need to not see the face, because he's got to be looking down, because all he has in the world is this guitar. And you can't even see his face. So we described that. We typed it into Grok. Make it anonymous. The person's homeless, destitute, abject. His head's down, looking at the guitar he's playing. You don't see a specific person. You just see a hunched figure. The figure's back is against a wall. He's sitting. His legs are semi-crossed on the sidewalk. See, this is all from my dad's memory of the painting. We didn't remember, we hadn't seen the painting yet. He's telling me about this vision, right? So I'm giving instructions to the machine, to the AI. So yeah. So he's uncomfortable, desperate, and lonely. He's got no friends in the world except his guitar, which he's holding with love. The feeling is uncomfortable. Like, this painting should make us feel uncomfortable, or he feels uncomfortable in it. Or both. Blur the painting. The style should be cubism in Picasso's blue period, as we already know. Okay. So we're getting this. Now, it does not look like a painting by Picasso really at all. It's kind of like an illustration. It's so detailed and all that. But it is blue. And he is, like, it's still getting that description to wear that kind of clothes and that little thing around the top of the head, right? Because of the photo we'd put in. But remember, we're not using Midjourney, and there's no image prompt. It's not referencing any image. It's just the words of the prompt that we're running, or the idea that it is evolving behind the scenes, that it is generating the images from, still has a description of that figure that came from the B1A. Okay, so we finally got this image. We were already looking at images. This is just the first one that we're showing you. So we call it D2. And then we got it to describe that image. Okay, so that writes another prompt. It writes it based on whatever it saw in this image. Okay, so we did that. Then on this image, so I guess that didn't work, right? That's a dead end. Or in our case, I chose that it was a dead end. So then D2, we click edit on it and just said how we want it changed, right? Blur it, make it genuine painting by Picasso. So the D3. is the result. And then here, like what are we doing? I guess we've now said this is a new prompt that I put into Grok. So that whole thing there. So it's like, remember how I gave it those instructions and how to change what it had done before? I just copied and pasted them because I had a document, a text document open, a notepad, which I had copied and pasted in each step, which is how we're able to show you what steps we did in order, right? So I had basically had those things there, so I put them together in a prompt. And the part where it says description goes here is a prompt that it had written, like maybe back here, when we said to describe D2, just what you see here, in detail with precise language. So whatever it gave me is what I put in here. So I was making a new one here, right? And that gives us D4. So everything's blue, but the guitar's brown, right? It's different, and it's that figure, and we can kind of see his face, but he is really looking down just at the guitar, right? So it's pretty good. And it kind of looks like it's signed by Picasso, and you see the Grok watermark too. All of them have the Grok watermark. And then, so I clicked edit on that, or we clicked edit, and said blur, make it a genuine painting by Picasso. You were already familiar with that process. We did that on an earlier one. So that resulted in another thing, which I'm not showing. And then I did the same thing. I just clicked edit and said, or we said, do not show his face, blur the image, make it cubist, make a genuine Picasso. So we get D5, we call that one there, right? It kind of looks like a Picasso. It's kind of cubist. And then we edit that one, and we tell it, see, because we don't want to see the face. We should be only seeing the top of his head. He's looking down. So we edit, and it says, how do you want to change it? We only want to see the top of his head because he's looking down so much at the guitar, so far down. Blur the image, make it cubist, genuine Picasso, as before. Copy and paste, right? So now here, that was one track, right? Another track is we take D4 and edit the image in Paint manually, digitally. So that's there. I edit the face off with blue painting over the face, right? And we input that, of course, otherwise, why would we do it? So we input that back in. Uploading that image in and saying, disregard everything before, describe what you see in detail with precise language. And then, whatever it gave me, that prompt, description of the painting, I then say back to it, write so the figure's faceless. As my dad was telling me, right? He represents a class of beggars. He's anonymous, and of course sitting on the ground, not on a box or whatever, right? So then we say generate, so whatever it then gave me back, remember I had the AI going through multiple steps, describe what's in the image, then I say write it differently, so it writes the words differently, then I put whatever it gave me in the placeholder description there. Make the painting, and it's a genuine painting by Picasso, and here's the description. And we get this, according to my records. We got that. D6. And there's a face that's blank. Okay. And so then I just respond to it, I think, unless we hit edit. But I think I just kind of respond to Grok and say, he needs to be looking down at his guitar, which is all he owns in the world. He has no face. He has no voice. Nobody cares about him. He has no identity. The viewer should feel hopeless and hungry and cold, right? I forgot to write cold. You had said that. You know, he should feel cold and hungry looking at the painting. Okay, there. Now we have D7, another rendition version or whatever. And there he is with a brick wall and in an alley, and he's sitting on the ground. And it kind of looks like one foot is barefoot and the other one might be shoed or booted, unless he's a witch or something, because the foot, it doesn't have toes on his left foot. Okay, so I click edit and say blur, cubist, make genuine Picasso painting in his blue period. I guess failed attempt or dead end. So I clicked edit again. Blur greatly, make an impressionist painting in the style of Picasso. And then, I don't know, we're not showing you all of them, right? We saw images and we were responding to that. We were editing that, hitting edit and putting in a little prompt like that. So Then I Googled, because then I found out that the thing that he was making was a painting that Picasso made already. So then I Google Picasso painting blue period beggar with guitar. And then, so you can Google for the old guitarist or Picasso old guitarist, and just view this image, view this painting, or follow this link, because this is where we saw the image. That's one I clicked on and looked at it in that article. And there is the image. You have to scroll way down. And here's a quote from that. The old guitarist is probably the most iconic painting of Picasso's blue period, which was approximately 1901 to 1904, when he was living in poverty and feeling something. And then, so I input the image, one photo of Picasso's The Old Guitarist, right? We don't show it here because that would be copyright. So we upload that image in and describe and get Grok to describe it, what you see in this image in detail with precise language. Okay, that's the prompt that it wrote. This is it, right? So there's nothing wrong with showing that. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? We can't see the picture, but you can read about it. And you can also just easily Google it. So look at the image itself, right? Do that right now and come back. Or you already have, which is a good thing to do. And then I just told Grok to generate an image. I was more basic than I'd done before. Notice that in the description, it does say all these things about it being blue and it's Picasso and so on. And it even says in the bottom right corner, a signature reads Picasso, marking this as a work from his blue period. It says that at the end, funnily enough. Now, I didn't use my normal template, like make a world-class painting by Picasso showing this. I didn't do that. But because the description has these words in it, I figured it would just work, because it's mentioning Picasso anyway. So generate an image and paste in what you just saw. That was one of the times that I showed you one of the things that the output comes from the AI. So I did that, or we did, and then it would create images which we could see. And then I typed back to the AI, probably without clicking edit, just simply typing it in impressionist style. Looking at this painting, you feel cold, hungry, uncomfortable, and hopeless. Because you got to put the feeling or emotion or atmosphere into it. And here's D8. But he doesn't look, he's not bad. He looks happy. It looks like Picasso himself there. So he's done a self-portrait somehow in quite a lot of detail. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then, so then I clicked edit. We just click edit on that image and type in, make him extremely depressed and all blue, impressionist, simplified, and in the style of Picasso. Normally we'd capitalize Picasso there, but it doesn't matter because it's just reading the words here, right? And it knows who Picasso is. Or we're not going to get into the mind of the AI. So we get D9. See, that's a variation of this. So it's just edit, and it just said make it like Picasso's kind of, but he's got to be depressed. So we get that. And then we do something else. Edit again. I just click edit, type in more simplified and sad, yielding D10 here. This one. Now he doesn't look like him anymore. So there's kind of like Captain Spock, right, in Star Trek, The Next Generation. He kind of looks like him there a bit. Like this character is similar to that. Of course, he looks like Picasso there, kind of, as an old man. And now it doesn't look like that Spock character anymore. It's changed to another person, right, in D10. And then we said, well, we click edit, change it, make it into an impressionist painting based on that, on whatever that painting was there. So that gave us this. Now you'll notice that the background changed, kind of like impressionist or something. It kind of did that with the larger blocks of color, the splotches. Yeah, but it did do that on his legs, kind of, like on the clothing. But notice the face. It's still a lot of detail. It's not painted in large brush strokes like the background, right? And like the ground. We can go back to D10 and compare them. Notice the ground also, and even on the clothing. But then remember and go back and forth and compare the face. There. Okay, so the clothes didn't change much, but obviously the color of the floor changed a lot. And the background too. We don't have blue walls anymore. But the brush stroke style has changed a lot, right? When we go to this one. But then he himself, the face, is pretty much the same. Okay. Yeah, it hasn't become like really impressionist. But that's a flaw, but it doesn't matter. And that's where we stopped. We're like, okay, good enough. That's D11. That's how we made it. I showed you how. Right. Thank you very much. Enjoy creating whatever you are going to create next.